back in Berlin for Game 4. Schalke 04 just need a single win to close out the series, but will Team RB stand firm and bring us to a Game 5? That's what I want to see, Stress. I know you want to see it too, although earlier on you predicted that Schalke are going to win and then RB won, so how much we can trust what you want is a little bit...
All I'm going to say is if RB don't find a better way of dealing with Schalke's engage, specifically the Maokai, I think this could be a 3-1 here for Schalke. The Janna worked very well in Game 2, and RB had the tools to deal with a Maokai first pick and that threat in their draft, but unfortunately it just didn't work out. There was some communication issues by the looks of things, a little bit of an imbalanced way of taking engages and some skirmishes, but I feel like Schalke stepped up. Things like Smittyj being able to handle the matchup a little bit better thanks to Memento being around, actually catching a couple of teamfight ults that were way better in this game than we'd seen out of him before.
However, Stress, they are going to be on blue side again, I believe. So they can ban out that Maokai. It's something we saw them do on blue side last time, and that takes that away from Schalke 04.
Yes, you are correct. I got lost in thought of my own premonition. But of course, the studio currently is a little quiet, and I don't just want to say things out loud until the players are all settled about draft, of course. So once we get into picks and pans, I'll postulate with you. It's just one of those things that Challenger show is a little bit different from the LCS.
Yes, I always forget about that as well.
The absorbing of audio isn't quite there.
It's true. Let's talk about what happens to these teams after this playoff tournament as well. Schalke 2-1 up at the moment. If they win this, they go through to the promotion tournament, Stress. And the promotion tournament is an entirely different kettle of fish. You've got 2 best-of-5s. If you win them both, you're in the LCS. If you lose 2 best-of-5s, you are out and go back down to Challenger Series.
You probably don't want to keep your fish in a kettle either. Not the best thing. Now, I wonder whether RB will first pick Janna. Because Schalke, they have to ban the likes of Zac, the Caitlyn. They've been banning the Thresh. Do you think the Thresh is worse to let through than the Janna? I don't think so. I think you give them the Thresh because the Janna did so well.
Alongside that, Team RB have banned out Lucian in every single game thus far. Now, Caedrel is a very good Lucian mid player. Upset doesn't tend towards the champion. That could be something we see changed if we do get to a Game 5. They leave the Lucian on the cards and instead take away that Maokai alongside, say, the Zac and the Caitlyn bans.
Yeah, it could very well go that route. Team RB have banned the Lucian, as you're talking about. Lucian a lot. Gnar banned away means that RB won't be rushing for that Camille into Gnar matchup. Schalke, now is the time. Will it be the Thresh? Will it be the Janna? I think in every other draft, you ban the Thresh. The Kalista is another option because maybe it's the lane presence that is too difficult to deal with.
It was a lot of the times when they got onto the Kalista as well, though, they couldn't kill her because of the Janna. We've had Kalista played by Sedrion in every single game. The Janna will be the ban, and now the question becomes for Team RB. What do you prioritize here? We do still have Elise on the cards, I believe, for the first time this tournament.
Yeah, for the first time this series, the Kalista, I think, is the way you go here. You want that lane presence. You compare it with the Rakan now. That gives over the Cho'gath. That also gives over the Elise, should Schalke want it. We know Memento from his history has been playing Elise pretty much as a staple jungler. Saw that a lot in Giants, one of the picks that he succeeded on.
There's just so many different options. There's so many different variables. And when we talk about adaptability, it's not just in-game, it's in draft as well. And the coaches will be sitting backstage and thinking how they change coming into the next game. Schalke 04 only 1 win away from that promotion tournament, and they're going to go with the Elise and the Alistar.
Once again, taking the Alistar away from the Kalista combination. Another game where Alistar either picked away or banned
Thresh
from
is there,
RB. Thresh is there, so is Rakan if you want it. Both are decent setups. The Morgana is available, but I don't think we're going to see it. It didn't quite leave the same impression that the Janna did. And with this Elise, it may force out that earlier game presence. That is a blind-picked Galio.
Very early on now, Thal has played Galio, Magifelix has played it as well, so you can flex it around a bit, Stress.
But this basically is signifying that one of the solo lanes isn't going to be having this carry damage threat. Now, of course, Galio can still output quite a amount of damage himself. When you always get those post-team fight graphics, Galio has like 3k damage. But still, it means they're not the primary threat. So RB already focusing on that, and that's because they're now bringing some damage from the jungle themselves. Kha'zix comes out. in response to the Elise. At this point in the draft, Schalke have been taking the nah, but it's banned. Will it be the Cho'gath that comes through?
It might be. We have seen this before, of course, by Team RB in game 1. They picked the Cho last, but it's going to be the Jayce. Now, this can be put into Smittyj Jay's hands, but Caedrel also plays a mean Jayce in the mid lane.
I believe Jayce was actually banned in every other game up until this point. It's a light last game he wasn't banned, but the first 2 he was. Now, Jayce has picked the Thal on the opposite side of the rift, has played a lot. I like the flex potential here. Does mean we're going to need to see likely a Rumble come out of Schalke if this is Jayce in the mid lane. Elise alone doesn't provide enough magic damage threat. Maybe you go to the likes of a Varus, but we've seen Upset go for the Tristana in that AD carry role. I say Varus because it is that mixed threat of damage as opposed to just flat AD.
There's so many different options here for both the teams, and it might feel like we become slightly more somber. It's just because there is so much on the line for these teams as well. The music
Stranger Things has kicked in.
Exactly, the music's really somber as well. But Team RB, if they don't win this, they don't enact their plan of getting to the LCS this year. They're going to have to wait, and we've seen what can happen to teams that have to wait. Look at Paris Saint-Germain, not even in Challenger. They got relegated into the Challenger Series qualification tournament.
And that would, when you look at the other half of that, if Schalke don't make it, a team that was once in the LCS, fell down, stumbled in spring, looked to be on the cusp of making it to the promotion tournament, at least for the summer split.
Don't talk about hovers.
I'm not, because I'm more thinking about the Varus would be one, Jhin if you want lane presence, Upset flicking through a bunch of his AD carries, Xayah if you want scaling, and that's exactly where they go.
It's going to be the Xayah. Saw that in game 1, of course.
Yep.
Coming out from Upset, didn't have to do too much in that game. In fact, only really game 3 that he has shown up for Schalke and Little Fear thus far, but they have a team that can show up from so many different positions and so many different carry potentials on that team. Now, Team RB looking for the second rotation. They do have that Cho.
You can go Cho'gath Rakan here on this rotation if you want it.
There's still the very slight possibility that Galio is a support.
A very slight Morgana into the Alistar still would basically be the same thing we saw before. Rakan gives you the engage potential. Morgana gives you the defensive capabilities.
Rakan is really tough into Alistar because as soon as you jump in, he just knocks you up and you don't really get any of those engages off. So it's really Kasing trusting in himself to be able to find beneficial and optimal engages.
But that's where the Kalista turns this back around, right? Is the Kalista can always save the Rakan, and if you've done enough damage up front, if you've crowd controlled enough, then it is possible still to offset some of what Alistar is bringing. Orianna, for once in this game, is available, has been banned in all 3 games prior to this. Makes a whole lot of sense. Tells us that it is the Jayce in the top lane up against the Cho'gath.
Orianna has been banned by Team RB in all 3 games as well, really respecting Caedrel's potential on that mid laner. And now we see these full compositions come out for what could be the final game between these 2 teams. RB with a bit more defense than we are used to them seeing, a little bit more tankiness on that lineup, and Schalke, a very traditional composition with Smittyj now moving more into that carry role that we expect of him.
It's a bit of a turnabout's fair play on this. RB, as you said, looking for that tankier front line. They still will have damage from the Cho, the Galio, the Kha'zix. Not in the same way they did in previous games, where they'd be looking towards Magifelix and Thal to kind of carry the fights. Of course, Thal, if he can find Upset, get that feast down, probably just insta-kill him.
However, in game 1, we saw the same matchup, and Thal always struggled to get on towards that backline.
Yeah, and a lot of that was lack of primary engage. Now, this time, you have the likes of the Kha'zix Galio combination, which isn't the best. Like, I'm not saying that that is brilliant. You got the Kalista, the Rakan alongside each other to bring that Galio into the fight as well. Very tense. Spot in the promotion tournament is on the line, and Schalke are 2-1 up.
Schalke have been in a very similar position before. Playoffs. Only 4 months ago, they lost to Misfits Academy on this very stage, and now Team RB stand in their way. Will the Schalke tank keep on rolling, or will Team RB be able to take us to a Game 5? Let's find out on Summoner's Rift.
Very different top lane matchup here for Smittyj into Thal. Jayce into Cho'gath. Of course, Jayce, as a top laner, relies heavily on bullying around melee matchups. Cho'gath himself can struggle against range matchups, has good sustain. As soon as you get past level 6, you start feasting things. I expect Memento to go top lane and paint a gigantic target on the back of Thal. If you can get that damage coming through from Memento and Smittyj, that's what you want for the first blood. That would put Cho'gath significantly behind in this matchup and make an already difficult matchup even worse. But for now, Thal and Moojin are trying to interrupt on the Wraiths.
They are not really going to be able to do too much. And this Kha'zix jungle is something we saw Moojin play a lot in the open qualifiers, which Team RB came all the way through. Actually following a very Fnatic Academy rise through, winning open qualifiers this year, then coming into the Challenge Series, placing 3rd in the Challenger Series, something Fnatic Academy were able to do as well, and then looking for this playoff position. And something I want to see from Moojin is this aggressive Kha'zix play. His Jarvan in Game 2 did it very well. His Kha'zix here really needs to be able to impact the map and get them ahead and perhaps shut down Memento early on as well.
Looking at the ward that Thal just placed on the top side, trying to track Memento through the early game is... Realistically, that's where the opening should come from for Schalke. If they can get up into the top side, you're talking about the aggressive Kha'zix on the other side of the map for Moojin. It's actually not playing out that way. Memento's heading bot side after a start on red, now coming down towards the bottom side, but I actually want to double check on my screen very quickly whether the Jayce passed over that ward.
Interesting jungle starts as well. We saw actually Upset and Norskeren start the blue buff, take a little bit of damage from it and then back away, and then the super buff start for Moojin, the super leash it's otherwise known as. They start the red buff, they bring it out for him, he clears out, I believe he cleared out all of his Razor Beaks and then came across to the red, which delayed Kasing ever so slightly from getting back into the lane. He's gone for that ancient coin line once again and has already popped one of his total biscuits of rejuvenation.
Yeah, I have the answer on the start out of Smittyj and Memento. Smittyj actually started up in the lane. Memento just cleared his red alone on the top side of the map, so no vision was given over, and it's actually Smittyj that is pushing. Moojin takes a blast cone just to try and make sure that if Memento is around, can't take that himself, gets him closer to the lane, and Moojin realizes Smittyj is dropped up into the bush, so likely no opportunity to gank here. So he's just going to take away the Krugs, take away some of the camp. They have spotted Memento on the bottom side of the map, though.
I'm wondering if perhaps a dive is going to start. I'd really like to see the wave mechanics in the top lane, because a ping came down on towards Smittyj, and actually Kha'zix has now gone across towards the Krugs. Memento's coming down towards bot, so the jungle is mirrored, are looking for ganks on either side of the map. Here comes the flash engage from Norskeren into the cocoon, but doesn't connect. Kasing jumps out, and Memento will leap away with a repel as well, but Moojin is still up towards that top side. It's dangerous to gank a Jayce underneath his tower, and he decides he's not going to do it, instead looking over towards those Razor Beaks, which are warded by Caedrel.
Yeah, both teams knew exactly what was happening. Sedrion, gotta be careful you don't get stunned.
He's going to take a lot of damage. The Ignite comes down as well, has to use the heal. Upset perhaps looking for it, but he gets knocked up under tower, and then he gets out of tower, and then he goes back into tower, and he's dead. Rakan gets the kill. That's killing. Oh, that's a lover's tryst right there, isn't it, Stress? Rakan killing Xayah in the bottom lane.
That is difficult to watch. Very difficult to watch, and also difficult to watch because of the way that that played out itself. Memento even showed himself by using that volatile spiraling, so the RB bottom lane know that they have to back away, but they already have come out ahead. One kill for Kasing. Just looked like a rough balance of where the tower aggro was actually coming from. So Sedrion gets stunned up. In goes Norskeren. Upset trying desperately, but he treads too far forward. Kasing goes with the...
takes one step back towards Sedrion.
Upset ended up with the tower aggro cocoon. Ooh, looked like it barely didn't land as we come out of the replay.
And that's the sort of thing RB need. Like, we talked about how they usually win from winning lanes. They don't really have that in the top lane. Jayce can force back the Cho'gath. Mid lane's going to be very balanced, and bot lane is pushed towards them thus far. But if you can get a kill like that, if you can sneak away something from your opposition when they go too aggressive, that's where you can actually start a snowball rolling that you really want to see if you're a Team RB fan.
Yeah, that is what you want to see. Another thing you want to see if you're a Team RB fan is 37 CS to 29 up in the top side of the map. we were talking about how Jayce versus Cho, not exactly a standard matchup that we see very often. And interestingly enough, the early part of the laning phase going to Thal, because Moojin was around as part of this, Smittyj had to play scared, but also Thal has good trading potential. You see, as soon as Smittyj walks up and he's in hammer form, suddenly Thal is able to put out half of his health's worth of damage, and Smittyj has to play on the back foot. So he's trying to play defensively for now until he can at least survive through some of this laning presence of that Cho'gath.
So as well, Kasing and Moojin moving into the jungle together, getting some vision control down. Still only level 4, not really getting towards that level 6 spike on the Kha'zix, and he's just taking his time looking for ganks.
But it's a significant amount of vision control they have on the bottom side here, around where the blue buff will end up spawning of Schalke. You can see it's an Infernal Drake as well to start this one off, so any opening where they can spot Memento away from the Dragon Pit may result, if they can get the push in their favor, in RB getting the first dragon of the game. Ooh, Moojin might be caught here though, doesn't recognize that Memento is behind him.
Cocoon lands, the leap happens as well. There's a huge damage from the Shock Blast. Memento's going to follow him across the wall. Moojin looking for the heal from those Void Spikes. Memento will get the kill with a final auto. There's great collapse there from Schalke 04.
Yeah, Schalke able to just catch Moojin on his way between lanes there. Thal looked like he had recalled out after using his Feast for the first time. If we do end up getting a replay, we'll be able to see that. But look, Norskeren now coming in, trying to clear out some of the vision. He actually doesn't have a pink one, doesn't have a sweeper this early on, so we can't do too much about this. Just spotted, trying to get vision for themselves. But you can see Sedrion and Kasing actually coming up out of the bottom lane to try and make sure they secure this vision and keep it in their favor, just like the lane matchup is already.
And Kasing's even gone for the Sightstone first, even before getting the Nomad's Medallion, the upgrade, you get 40 gold instead of 25, so it's a significant upgrade off those coins. Says instead, I want to get the Sightstone, I want to get vision down around this Infernal Drake. We know we've got a jungler that can take dragons really easily by himself, and it allows us just this extra ability to pressure in the lane.
Not rushing that Ardent Censer first. Again.
He could still go Ardent Censer.
He could, but not first. It's not the rush. It's not the rush coming out from Kasing.
Game's a little bit slower here, Stressed. Both the teams realizing the gravity of the situation, a position in promotions on the line. And we've talked about how Schalke prefer these slower games, prefer to get later on towards the macro-focused portion of the game.
Yeah.
RB, however, still seem to be on the front foot. They're 600 gold ahead and do have a few opportunities as they get towards these level 6 to level 11 spikes.
Oh, Moojin nearly stole it away. You're talking about level 6, level 11. Level 6 for Moojin, I'm interested to see. I think he'll probably still go the Taste Their Fear Q evolution. Still waiting on seeing people trying to utilize the ultimate one where you go Duskblade, but that typically is later on in the game. But you'll end up seeing that. Magifelix using out of trade in the middle lane. It's the first time we're seeing really the Galio Orianna setup here. Very different. We've seen the LeBlancs, the Syndras matchups. The Corkis come out, but this time later game focus for Caedrel. And Thal on the top side of the map trading with Smittyj. Now I feel like this is where Smittyj starts to take over, at least for the next 10 or so minutes, until that Cho'gath starts going, okay, I'm getting Righteous Glory, I'm running into a fight, that's my focus.
It is a benefit for Cho'gath now, of course, that Righteous Glory builds out of Glacial Shroud.
Oh,
and
yes.
You can get extra health as well, not down the old build path. And I really want to see how well this Orianna and Jayce do for Schalke 04, because we've seen 2 Jayce bans, we've seen 3 Orianna bans, we've seen a lot of respect from Team RB towards these Schalke power picks. And if they're not going to pay off for Schalke, coming into game 5, you have to think how it's going to work. Moojin is here for the counter gank. Silence onto Smittyj. Thal does have Feast, and they're going to turn their eyes to Memento, but look at how low Moojin is. Thal looking for the Feast, upset, and Norskeren on their way. Here comes the hero's entrance as they knock back Thal. Magifelix with the Shield of Duran. Kasing joins the fray as well. Not yet. 6 does not have the ultimate, and Caedrel coming up forced him back beneath the tower. 9
players in this game are currently around this top lane. The only one that isn't is Sedrion in the bottom lane pushing. This is very reminiscent of game 1, where RB were able to defend a play on the top side, look to push on the bottom side, and get tower first blood for themselves. They've been winning this matchup again, 84 CS to 64. Schalke again not able to play around the early game in this bottom lane specifically.
But the way that they decide to react is something you have to give them credit for. They're not winning the early game. They're not able to play the lane, so they say, okay, we're going to switch the map around. We're going to go somewhere we think we're slightly safer. We're going to bring a few members, maybe get a kill out of it as well. And although RB have the push advantage, they now have to react to what Schalke and 04 have done.
Right, and it has worked more times than it has not worked as well. So you can see where the decision-making process comes from Schalke. I'm just very interested to see if they drafted a winning lane, how it would then go, because like RB, they've been given the Kalista every single game in this matchup. I would love to see what happens in a potential Game 5 where maybe this goes in a different way. Of course, Schalke, their bread and butter has been later in the game, at least maintaining an somewhat small goal deficit and then being able to play their way back into it around objectives, around fights. That is where Schalke have had the strength, and this will help them out. Infernal Drake early on in the game, 11 minutes in, taking that one down. Schalke get themselves on the board with the first dragon.
That they do. And Sedrion and Kasing will look to push in this top tower a little bit. Not going to be able to get too much down from it, but because Moojin knows that bottom side of the map was occupied, he will go for the Rift Herald himself. And this is something that we used to talk about a lot with challenger teams, was the ability to trade objectives, and it's much more ubiquitous now, Stress. These challenger teams' macro game tends to be a lot stronger than it was 2 or 3 or 4 splits ago. They're much more at the LCS level of macro. Not quite there yet, we still see mistakes from them, but the ability to trade objectives is something that a lot of challenger teams are beginning to show is in their arsenal.
That's the type of thing that takes a long time to filter through. The point that when we really looked at bringing the LCS here in Berlin in 2015, which is when I joined the broadcast team for the LCS, you look at the support that was given. Now, I'll get to this in a sec. It's more important to look at Magifelix.
He's going to run away for the time being. Memento and Caedrel are on the chase. No ultimate, no shockwave there. Moojin will join the fight, and Caedrel flashes over for Magifelix straight into the face of Moojin. The hero's entrance is not enough damage mitigation. Moojin dodges out the cocoon, but they cannot get the kill, and Schalke get their second kill of the game.
And that's because RB were looking on the top side. Now, they didn't get Tower First Blood on the bottom side. They swapped their dual lane up to the top side, and we're talking about strategic play. I'll make this very short. Coaches, strategic coaches, analysts didn't exist even in the LCS at that point to the level they do now. So, of course, it takes time then to filter down through into challenger teams, and that's really over the last year or so what we've seen be the improvement for teams like Schalke, who have invested more into analysts, teams like RB who have, built a little bit more of a foundation around just 5 players and given them a lot more support, and I think that is where we see the growth in Challenger.
Knock up on towards Kasing. Memento here as well, but the TP is cancelled for Magifelix, I believe, as he was looking to join the fight. As soon as they saw Memento, they decided to back away. Let's have a look at Magifelix getting caught out once again.
So Shockwave back, Cocoon didn't land. Magifelix trying to get his way out of this one. Ends up sidestepping down because he and Moojin, I don't know whether they're on a different page here by the way he was going, but Moojin started to path up, then ends up pathing down. Memento and Caedrel have enough damage at least to deny Moojin any further presence in that exchange.
And it's again the communication that we started to see hamper RB at the end of the last game. A few mistakes, a few missed calls, a few TPs that didn't need to be completed, getting completed, and it's on that longer cooldown at times. And that's what RB need to work on. That's why sometimes their late game just doesn't seem as strong as their laning phase.
You wonder how RB then are communicating, because a lot of the time where we would hear from the Hyun and Kasing duo, where Kasing would be very active, talking a lot, Hyun would input a lot, and that was on H2K at the time. Odo Amne was a big proponent of his voice. Now, the reason that I think this implies here is I wonder who else on RB is providing input on top of Kasing. Like, how talkative are Thal and Moojin when it comes to actually making plays on the map? Because we know that play is aggressive. We know that play speaks for itself as being aggressive, but that's where I wonder how the breakdown actually comes through. And that's difficult to know without sitting in a game with them time and time again and actually listening to the team. But that is one worry with this lineup.
Oh, definitely. Stress. Coming into this mid-game, that's where that communication is oh so vital. There's hardly a gold difference at all between these two teams, but we are starting to see first items completed. Smittyj on the Jayce is Blade of the Ruined King first into this Cho'gath matchup. You've got Sorcerer Shoes up towards a Liandry's for Caedrel. You've almost got the Essence Weaver completed for upset as well.
Well, you're up against two tanks and two people that are going to have some sense of tankiness. Probably don't want to go lethality, so that's why the Blade of the Ruined King comes out. Magifelix, he's tanky enough as it is for now. Adaptive Helm, but look, trying to get
he gets knocked out of the hero's entrance. That was a bit foolish, really, wasn't it, from him? That's the second time we tried to see him use it to get away. Smittyj needs to be careful because Thal has Feast, has the flash, but doesn't want to go for the aggressive play onto Smittyj. Of course, doesn't do 1,000 true damage to an enemy carry, about 300 or so at this level. And again, we see Moojin use the Herald because it's about to time out just in a side lane. We'll have to see if RB are able to use this on the rest of the map.
Yeah, Smittyj, of course, reading the trade on the bottom side well, knowing Feast was there. Now we look towards Moojin standing on a ward.
And again, he hasn't got a sweeper early on. This is something that Schalke have recognized. Memento flashes in for the Cocoon, doesn't connect, but does steal the blue.
I think in Memento's mind that works. Blast Cone over the wall. Cocoon, Q, flash follow-up.
It's just, it's European blast cones. Obviously, they're not quite showing where you're meant to go.
Do we need, like, an optician for, like, the ULCS and Challenger players? I don't know what, like,
quite possibly.
At least that's in my mind what I'm thinking Memento was looking for there.
Everyone just needs some glasses. Everyone's slightly myopic, slightly short-sighted, perhaps, in their evaluation.
Fancy words. Fancy. I don't know what myopic.
Short-sighted.
Is that actually what that is?
Well, at the moment, the fancy plays are all coming from Schalke and Nullafir. They are 2,000 gold ahead.
I was writing that word down, that's all. I was just making sure I remember it for later.
I can never remember the one for farsightedness. It's like hypermetropic or something along those lines. But in the end, you just sound like you're making up words. And 90% of the time I am, but no one knows it. It's amazing. Anyway, RB, slightly on the back foot here as Schalke and Nullafir look for their third game and for that promotion series spot. They are so close they can almost taste it. But RB are still standing in their way.
I think this matchup, unfortunately for RB, is kind of dictated by the amount of pressure that Schalke are putting on the middle lane from Magifelix, but like that RB are now looking for this bottom lane play.
Yeah, Smittyj used the jump in. I don't even think you needed a TP, but perhaps you do because Smittyj gets away. And Magifelix teleported in. Caedrel was on his way down as well, so perhaps RB just trying to deter him from joining this fight.
Yeah, Caedrel had already left the lane and crossed over a ward. Gotta watch out for Kasing here. He's dangerously close to Caedrel and Memento. There's no real follow-up as such, but the Galio ult will bring them closer.
Forces the flash away from Caedrel.
But Magifelix just used his ult and his TP. Good that the flash is now down on Caedrel, but that is now all of the ability of Galio to come across the map being used. So Magifelix needs to be in the fight already, otherwise Schalke will have the numbers advantage.
Still only that mid lane tower taken for Schalke and Nullafir. A longer game, a more protracted game here, Stress. Much more sense of gravitas between these two teams. Much more sense of purpose for Schalke and Nullafir as they keep up towards this top side. He is 30 CS behind, but look at Caedrel in that mid lane. This is the reason they did not want to give him Orianna. He's got 2 kills and he's 50 farm ahead of Magifelix.
I think when you look at it though, the win condition for Schalke is create as much of an opening as you can with Smittyj, use upset and the rest of the lineup to kind of push down these other outer towers while the Orianna sits in the middle lane, but it's difficult to actually close the game like this. Memento dodges out on Red Bull's.
Oh, Kasing doesn't predict well, but Moojin is there as well. They will be able to get the kill on towards Memento. There's a Cloud Drake there for them as well if they want it, but it's not as impactful as the Infernal that Schalke and Nullafir already have.
Got to 4 games without saying it, and then I said it.
Happens. Happens.
Well, what else happens is pushing onto bottom lane towers at this point, as RB looking to crush that down. Of course, 2 towers in favor of Schalke already. 10 minutes ago, we said RB were trying to make a play on this bottom tower while trying to defend top lane, but didn't actually get it. There was no commitment out of Sedrion, but now they finally get it. There's always this looming threat, though. Switching focus completely to the other side of the rift. Up on the top lane, Cho'gath hasn't died. Now, you don't lose stacks on dying anymore for Cho'gath, but the key thing is no deaths on Cho'gath means he hasn't been put so significantly far behind that when teamfights start, if he is around, he is an incredibly large threat.
There is disengage for Schalke 04. So if they're not using the Alistar to engage a fight, they can pull that Cho'gath away. They can knock him back. You've got the Featherstorm from Upset as well. Caedrel will need to be light on his feet, but he has got the cleanse, so we can always cleanse Flash away from a taunt. However, as you say, Stress, Thal, although he may not look it, is a key carry here for Team RB. He is the one that needs to be isolating a member later on, because you haven't got a huge amount of damage on the rest of the team. Moojin has some, he's going serrated Dirk, so he's going lethality build. Kalista as well does do damage in later game fights, but usually you'd have a mid laner who has a bit of burst, a bit of a Syndra, a LeBlanc there. Yeah. Instead, you've got Thal with Feast, and he is a key proponent to how they play these fights.
He is. That means he has to find Upset. He has to find somebody like Caedrel's Orianna. Difficult, though. Shockwave is there. You mentioned the defensive ability of that Alistar as well. Even finding Smittyj would be fine. If you can actually get that Feast down, if we end up seeing him go for that Gargoyle Stone Plate inevitably on the Cho, you just pop both and insta-kill someone. That is one strength they have up against Schalke, is the fact they are quite squishy.
Moojin's very squishy as well. Yeah. Magifelix will jump in to protect him. That's a hero's entrance down, and TP will come up pretty soon. Thal jumped on here by Norskeren. Not the target you always want. Magifelix trying to jump his way away as well, as that's Schalke 04 take an aggressive path as Smittyj pushes down towards the bottom lane. Schalke do have a 2,000 gold lead they're trying to extend, and actually they're pinging up towards the Baron as well. They think they have the vision control around it to perhaps make a move.
I don't think they're going to commit to it without RB being down a member. Now, Moojin did have to recall, of course. Not enough of an opening. Thal and Magifelix have both got teleport. Caedrel obviously does not on this Orianna, but it's difficult for Magifelix and Thal to actually play the side lane, because right now Thal can't sit in front of Smittyj that effectively, and Smittyj is looking for a Black Cleaver next, which makes it even more tricky for that Cho'gath to just sit in the side lane and have that armor. And then the Galio is just behind. Very tough to actually absorb any kind of punishment. So what you'll see is Magifelix go up to the top side just like he has done now, clear the wave and just go, okay, bye, I'm going to walk back to mid lane. I want to be close enough that if I have to ult, I'm able to get into range. But look, there's a lot of vision control around this. Now Thal wants to trade with Smittyj, but it's Moojin that's here.
Smittyj flashes away, Moojin looking for the chase. They do have the flash on Thal, the knockback. Smittyj feasted, but Moojin gets the kill. And meanwhile, the Baron has been started here by Schalke. Magifelix, no damage there. Only Sedrion in terms of damage. Thal is going to TP in, no feast, as you say. Magifelix gets the taunt. Look at the going lower. Memento will secure it, but RB want the fight. Shockwave kills Sedrion, and now where's the damage coming from? Caedrel can stand in the middle of the pitch and just not give a damn. Norskeren comes back in. The hero's entrance knocks him back, and look at Caedrel surviving. Norskeren and Upset will clean up Thal. Schalke 04 take the perfect fight around the Baron pit. Moojin's not quite done yet. He gets Memento. He's looking for Caedrel, but he gets taken off the rip. Another kill for the Orianna.
Moojin not quite enough carry potential to take out those fights. We'll touch on that in a second. But look, Sedrion goes in, gets Shockwave down. RB try and take the fight up against Schalke, who have already taken the Baron. There was no feast, there was no steal potential. So you wonder if it was worth actually holding on for a couple more seconds to try and get Thal into the fight at first. We'll end up getting a replay from it, I'm sure. Key thing, Moojin now has the Duskblade, but did not have it before this fight. He was sat on Serrated Dirk, 2 longswords, and he has evolved his ultimate to get more Duskblade procs. So from now on, he will be more effective when it comes to these stealthy plays. But look, Thal comes in, already low from the trade with Smittyj, can't get close enough, tries to get it with the Feral Scream on the steal. Sedrion was pushing forward to throw Kasing into the fight, and that meant he couldn't actually avoid the Shockwave. It looked like he had Flash available and thought he was out of range, but ended up getting picked off anyway. And then from here, Moojin tries to pick off Caedrel at the end of things. Ults, tries to get past Memento, gets the first kill, but that is a significant amount of damage coming out from Caedrel. Couldn't get the second kill.
To see why the Orianna's been banned. He's 402. Memento jumped on Kasing, trying to get the quickness on. Will get the charm down, and Memento will fall. RB with a good catch, solidifying a kill onto 1. But this Orianna now, Leandries, Morello Nomicon, and a Void Staff completed. A 7,000 gold lead for Schalke 04, accelerating from that 3,000 at 20 minutes. And look at the items across the board. You've got a Black Cleaver now on Smittyj. You've got 2 completed items on Upset. On the other side, you're looking at bare pickings, really. You know, an Abyssal Mask, Adaptive Helm, sorry, and a Glacial Frozen Heart on Magifelix, a Blade of the Ruin King, and a Runeland's not as much damage output as you'd want, but they're looking for the upgauge as Thal runs in with the Righteous Glory, does get a 3-man knockup. Magifelix going in with a taunt. Norskeren's going to get taken off towards the side. Thal cannot get onto the backline. Sedrion just chasing underneath the turret, does not quite have enough, but Moojin does with the jump in. Doesn't have the evolved leap, which could be impactful in these fights if he's not able to jump around as much as he would like. RB looking for the mid lane tower, actually looking for a gold swing in their favor off this Baron. Thal pushed back, Memento there, misses the cocoon. RB just trying to disengage if they can, because Schalke now have 4 members left alive. Moojin comes in, doesn't use the ultimate. That's just him coming in from a bush when he's got that ultimate evolved.
Yeah, that's the evolution on the ultimate, is every time you step into a bush, it actually will initiate the invisibility there, which will allow multiple Duskblade procs if you can get in.
Oh, the charm! Oh my goodness gracious me! That was absolutely beautiful! The shockwave was great, but that does not even matter! A minuscule amount, RB and Kasing! What a godly play!
You can see just how much that means to RB on the cusp of maybe going 3-1 out of the playoffs here for that spot in promotion. You can see Team RB, massive team fight comes through, and that shockwave from Caedrel should, in any other team fight, win the game. But already Schalke were too low off the back end of the fight. Crushing amount of damage came through after the charm lands. I need to see that fight set up again.
We said it in picks and bans stress. Kasing on this Rakan needs to find the flanks, and find a flank he did.
They stacked for the, is it 3-person knockup into the charm, into the Galio ultimate, and Sedrion just hopping around the backside. That beautiful shockwave, but Caedrel unfortunately can't do much more than that. He did everything he could. RB are right back in this game, and maybe that's what RB stands for.
Right back in this game, as you say, Stress. They do get themselves a Cloud Drake, not the dragon they want.
There's some dangerous items coming through here now. Stone Plate completed, nearly completed for Galio as well. That Cho'gath, the first one to have it on the map, which means upset. Caedrel, Smittyj cannot go into melee range against this Cho'gath, or they will basically get one shot.
And Moojin is so powerful as well with the Duskblade and a Phage. We've seen how strong Rakan can be. He's got a Righteous Glory of his own. He's built a Locket. It's going to be incredibly tanky. And this is the, sorry, it's just an Aegis at the moment, but this is the problem for Schalke 04. They have to watch every single angle. Only a minute ago, their gold lead was 7,000. It's now down to 2. And they are looking down a very familiar street at the moment. Remember, 4 months ago, they lost to Misfits Academy in the playoffs. It was a tight series. Kasing looking for the engage, but Norskeren knocks him back. He comes back in. The grand entrance and the shockwave misses. Here comes the engage. Here's Thal. There's the knockup. A double, and they're just going to get straight onto Caedrel. He's feasting.
He didn't kill him.
Doesn't quite get the kill. Memento's killed Moojin by himself as he was looking for the flank. Norskeren is the target for the rest of RB. They're going to settle for a 1-for-2, but remember, Caedrel does not have that shockwave stress, and perhaps RB can continue to push forward. What do they have left? No ultimates on their side. Only the transformations are left available in terms of ult, and RB realize.
The best thing RB can do right now is back away. They have 2 Cloud Drakes. They can reset for fights quite effectively, but on their way back, they have to clear the vision. 1 minute till Baron. It's enough time for Moojin to get back available. Again, Kasing on this Rakan. We've seen it in the regular split. We've seen it here again. Norskeren tries to defend, but it's not. It actually ends up giving the engage potential and forcing Caedrel to ult. Thal, I believe, gets the Stone Plate and the ult, but actually doesn't get enough damage to kill Caedrel at that point. And the rest of the fight from there, it's easy to pick off this Alistar, but without any other carry, RB have to be careful here. They don't want to walk forward into more damage.
There's actually a really interesting interaction in that last fight as well. Fate's Call came out after the quickness was used by Kasing. It hits into Orianna, but doesn't go through her, so the quickness doesn't proc onto her. She wasn't charmed up, and it gave her the ability to escape, because otherwise she would have been taken down. So that's something very interesting to watch out. I only notice it because I'm basically a Rakan 1 trick ranked, and I'm like, oh, look at the Rakan all of the time.
Yeah, of course, during the fight as well, Caedrel used his cleanse to get out of a lot of that crowd control as well, so more more difficulty of actually locking that Orianna down in that fight. And that, I mean, maybe if Caedrel's dead, maybe if Caedrel as well is out of that fight, that's where Schalke end up losing more. But look, now the Baron is live for another game. RB, Cho'gath, Kalista should be guaranteed Baron when they get there, but they cannot afford to get onto the Baron without taking somebody out from Schalke, and they have to play very carefully. Shockwave is back up. What is the flash economics at this point? Look, 2 down on the side of RB. Caedrel doesn't have his. Everybody else does on Schalke.
Nor does he have Cleanse, which could be incredibly impactful. We've seen Schalke lose a fight with Caedrel left alive at the end. All it takes is a perfect engage from RB, but Schalke will be on the lookout. They have a banner of command as well, which I believe was used in the bottom lane, which is why the minions are pushing in their favor down there. They're trying to pull Schalke around the map. Norskeren steps forward. He's silenced. Is he going to go for the engage? He has the ball on him. If he wants to jump in and allow Caedrel that shockwave combo, because he's got a Void Staff now. He's got a Morello's. Magifelix forced off towards the side. The Cocoon comes out. Memento's going to jump onto Magifelix. Smittyj, the target, off towards the other side. They jump back as well. That's one dead as Thal kills Smittyj. And now Schalke have to pull themselves back through the river and pull those feathers back through Thal. RB still on the aggressive. Kasing does not have the quickness. There's a Fate's Call though, and there's still a feast for Thal.
Well, we'll have to see if RB can get the wings that'll let them fly past Schalke in this game. They're onto the inhibitor tower for now. Look, Caedrel still has that threat with the shockwave available. Schalke trying to close the net, but RB cannot push too far forward. Norskeren
gets onto Sedrion, but the shockwave isn't going to connect because it pulls the ball back onto Caedrel. The taunt onto Memento. The feast from Thal is not enough to eat up the spider, and now Magifelix is in an awful position. The shockwave comes out, but Sedrion goes in. They're looking for Upset. They can't quite get him. Kasing so low. Upset pulls the feathers back and gets himself another kill. They do get the inhib, but RB lose 3 members of their team.
2 members of RB are still alive. That does mean that Schalke are likely to head to the Baron, though. That big wave in the bottom lane did just take an inner tower, but that won't matter if Upset, Norskeren, and Memento can actually get to this Baron and take it away. Feast may be available in time for Thal. He does have teleport available, but it is all about delaying this initial play. It would be basically 1 versus 4 and probably not worth the risk of going in. RB know they can take the fight, so don't risk the play on trying to steal Baron away.
33 minutes in, a 4,000 gold lead for Schalke 04. Kills perfectly even, and fights like this are likely to occur.
So, Thal, remember, already has used Stoneplate, already at the back of this fight, half health, and the way that RB have been stacking around the Orianna ball is really killing their team fights here. It takes out Magifelix, Thal goes low. The rest of RB not on the same page. Again, the same thing. Kasing looking with the play in mind, looking to try and get the kills, but the rest of Schalke, hang on, Norskeren's been caught again!
Jump in, the TP comes in as well. That's an Infernal Drake for Schalke. They have 2 of those to 2 clouds of RB, but RB are not willing to give up this fight. Upset perhaps
Rakan.
up towards the side. The Fate's Call comes out, the quickness. He's trying to charm up his girlfriend, and Upset uses the QSS to try and get away and will survive. And now perhaps Schalke can re-engage. They decide against it for the time being, instead resetting the wave.
But how key will that be? No flash, no heal, no Feather Storm for now for Upset on the side of Schalke. RB on the other side of things, they did just use the Fate's Call, the quickness. The flashes are still not there for Sedrion and Kasing as well, but look, it's treacherous waters here. Inhibitor is still down in favor of RB in the middle lane, and that is where Schalke are trying to push. They're trying to push back this super minion wave as much as possible. Big wave of minions on the bottom side. I believe I just saw Kasing use the Banner of Command down there to try and absorb a little bit more of that wave, but Schalke can cut down there and look for an inner tower if they want it.
I think that's what they're going to do, and RB should accept this. They shouldn't try and push too far out. It is a full HP tower, but there's a big wave, and they are all Baron buff minions. RB back away. They know how important this moment is. This next team fight spells their slot in the promotion tournament. They have to win it if they want to go and challenge for the LCS.
Magifelix is still only level 15. Moojin is still 15. They're heavily out-leveled by Schalke right now. And Schalke, Norskeren wants to go in again. He's trying to find Thal.
Jumps straight on towards Thal. The silence comes out. Thal half HP. Sedrion as well. A great shock blast from Smittyj, and that's the power of having this carry in the top lane. Smittyj on the Jayce, so strong. And Schalke no fear have exactly no fear as they push in for that inhibitor.
But they're going to back away for now. 1 minute 20 on the clock of that Baron. And they feel like they've done enough damage. Inhibitor is down. The mid lane inhibitor is still down for Schalke. And the under-leveled aspect of RB is starting to hurt them quite significantly. We need to see that level 16 come through, because that's when Moojin maybe can get the evolved leap to come through. If it's not the evolved leap, then of course the slow, if he can find an isolated target, might start off a fight with his evolved W. But these two things, they need one of them to try and get Moojin into the fights a little bit more effectively. But Moojin himself has to be careful here and try and get away.
So much credit to Caedrel this game. 7, 1, and 3 on the Orianna. His shockwaves, can only think of one that has not hit the mark. And he is showing why RB respected him so much in the previous hits and bans. Perhaps that lack of an Orianna ban will be their undoing in this final game.
Perhaps it will. RB chose to ban the Cassiopeia and take away upsets Tristana, and we're getting into the point of the game where it's the Xayah that is going to start taking over. Kalista will still be fine. There's not a lot of tanky targets on the side of Schalke outside of just Norskeren, so the damage in teamfights is still okay, but the Xayah will have good late game damage. We've got the Essence Reaver, the Infinity Edge, the Rapid Fire Cannon completed. And Smittyj up in the top lane on this Jayce, another damage threat, has a Guardian Angel. Another tower push comes through. RB, they know they're just waiting on this last Baroned up cannon minion. It's because of the jungle mastery that comes through on Memento right now that Baron buff still exists, and it has just timed out.
Let's see Thal having to deal with that bottom lane wave as well. Schalke
contains
the promotion tournament. Sedrion gets jumped on. Here's the hero's entrance as Schalke go in for the charm once again into a 4-man taunt as well. Memento trying to kill
Sedrion.
the Kalista and does manage it. Who is left alive? Caedrel's not. Moojin jumping around, but Moojin dies as well. And even with a great engage from Team RB, Schalke no fear have taken the fight, and they're gonna take this game and take their spot in the promotion tournament.
Schalke managed to find pretty much the single consistent damage threat of Sedrion, and RB crumble. Schalke, they're advancing to the promotion tournament.
On their second attempt, Schalke no fear have secured their spot in the promotion tournament.
What a back and forth game between RB and Schalke. At the end of it, Schalke are able to find enough damage from the team fight. We talked about how they were scaling through the Orianna, the Xayah, big late game picks, and they found the mark once again. It was a beautiful fight out of RB, getting the charm through for another time on multiple people on Schalke, but it just wasn't enough. The damage that followed up just wasn't there, and the lead that Schalke accrued was enough to take the game.
It was so close though. All that final fight takes is perhaps a slight overextension from upset. Just one more person getting caught out, a couple more Kalista spears coming in for that rend, and you see upset dying, and you see Caedrel dying, and you see Team RB getting their way back into the game. And Schalke going into the promotion tournament will be looking at that and saying, okay, what do we need to do? How do we improve so we know we can face up against mysterious monkeys and ninjas in pajamas and giants?
Certainly some things still to fix, but Schalke looking solid. Early game, I think, is one of the areas you have to highlight, but I think that is one of the strengths of RB that they showed us all the way through the split. I think Schalke, once the map is more open, seemed better than RB. You could see RB stretching to try and make plays, always trying to be active, but not necessarily taking the consistent plays that are going to always advance your lead safely. And that is the real difference between these two teams. The later the games go, Schalke just appeared to be on the up and up. We're going to end up taking a look at a couple of the replays from the end of this game as we get one of the Schalke players for an interview setup. But this, we talked about it, the second split here for Schalke, finally managing to come back. Looking at the Baron play that came out, this is the one that Schalke were able to take. and then kind of crushed through some of RB. It was Sedrion getting shockwave there as he was reaching forward for Kasing to get the damage down. And from there, Kasing ends up falling the rest of RB. And at this point, the game looked done. Schalke looked like they were already in the promotion tournament, and it was another fight after that, Kasing managing to land the multi-person charm. But when we look at it, the last fight that came through was actually Memento dealing a lot of the damage that tore apart RB. When Memento gets into the backline, that's what I want you to watch in this last fight of the game. Sedrion has already been dropped low. Out comes the QSS, they try and get him away, and Memento realizes he's only got one thing to do. As soon as that taunt goes down, he gets right into the backline. Sedrion gets damaged down just enough so that Upset can take him out, with the feathers being recalled by the Xayah. And that is how Schalke make their way into the promotion tournament. Gone, perhaps, the cursed playoff performance from spring. Schalke finally making it back to the point where they can earn their way back into the LCS, but they have some stiff competition from Ninjas in Pajamas, Mysterious Monkeys, and Giants, who qualified last week. Of course, promotion tournament a couple of weeks away, waiting to see exactly how the matchups will play out. The tiebreaker on that one actually decided by the head-to-head record, which means Mysterious Monkeys will be able to choose their opponents, leaving NIP with the unfortunate task of playing a team that they don't get to choose. But that's always an interesting one because Giants looked perhaps stronger in their series, but Schalke maybe looks stronger later on in the game. And we always know in promotion tournaments, those late game threats, the late game insurance is always one of the biggest things. As you can see, I am flying solo here as Medic has stepped across to the other side of the studio to interview some of the Schalke players as we get into this. But an interesting best of three between the two teams, back and forth. We kind of anticipated some funny stuff out of Magifelix. The Galio, in the end of all things, I think leaves a little bit to be desired. Heavily camped by Caedrel, who had a massive performance himself, 7-2-7 on that last game. But really, the fact that RB put everything on Sedrion's shoulders is where everything kind of fell apart every so often. I believe we are getting very close to the interview being ready, so you don't have to stick with me for too much longer on that. But RB now go back to Challenger Series. They will be playing in the spring split. Of course, we're talking about Schalke advancing to the promotion tournament. And that means we can talk to Caedrel from Schalke, who will be very happy that they made it to the promotion tournament.
Thank you very much, Stress. I am joined by Caedrel. Congratulations, of course, on your win. How does it feel to be going into the promotion tournament?
It feels good. I mean, we expected to make the promotion tournament and the games went decent. They could have been a bit cleaner, but it was pretty good overall. It
was a lot closer than expected, in my opinion. A few nerve-wracking moments there, especially in that final game.
Yeah, I mean, we got 2 Nashes and we couldn't crack their base, so it got a bit complicated and they kept pushing mid and trying to engage, so we had to respect it and back off and look for the right time, and we managed to find the right time and get their inhibs.
Well done. Congratulations, of course, on the win. Your Orianna was outstanding, 7-2-7 in that final game. What was it about Orianna that meant that RB kept banning it, and why are you so strong on it?
Yeah, I think this game, they played Galio mid, and I think Galio is actually fine into Orianna if you can get a base off and get some decent items, but he got a bad base. He TP'd bot and had to cancel it, so I had an advantage in the lane. I pushed him in, I got blue buff, my jungler was able to invade, and then I could just chunk him on the tower.
Okay. Final question. I want to talk a little bit about the promotion tournament itself. Mysterious Monkeys and NIP are your opponents. How do you feel about them at the moment, considering they're starting to win a few games in the LCS?
I mean, they've had a split of LCS, so they're quite comfortable on stage. I mean, we're not going to underestimate them. They're pretty good teams, but I'm pretty sure if we put our minds to it, we can definitely take games off them and promote to LCS.
Do you have a specific strategy in mind?
We'll see. We might see something special.
As long as it's not high-midding a mid, which is what Magifelix trolls me with.
Definitely not.
Excellent. Well, congratulations again on your win. That's it from us here. We'll be back for the final week of the EU LCS at 5 p.m. CEST on Thursday. Make sure you tune in then. For the first game of this best of 5, is Schalke up against Team RB. Sedrion gets rooted up, and here comes Galio as well. Norskeren secures the first kill.
Nice!
Nice. Back, here's Memento up towards the top side. Smittyj, Jay's been engaged on. Thal and Moojin comboing with the Cataclysm, and they get first blood. One back from Memento, but here comes the Hexagon ultimatum, and it forces Norskeren back. The Cataclysm on for an RB are getting the fight of their lives.
Sedrion, he has to hit this.
Okay, ready, Thal's dead. Caedrel's taking him, the smite comes down, it goes to Memento, the steal from Memento. And now RB are going to turn and burn straight on towards Norskeren. They will get 4 kills. We're on to the Summoner's Rift. For the third game of the day, Schalke 04 taking on Team RB. He has to flash away. Here comes Camille. Thal's on his way. The smite. Caedrel tries to come in as well, but RB will be able to force Memento.
Thal! He's gone on him!
Oh, you beauty for first blood. However, Thal's on the backline onto Smittyj. He's already taken out of the fray. Here comes the Cataclysm, the Hemoplague as well. Team RB secure 2 kills, and they want a lot more.
The binding actually lands!
And they're going to Cataclysm in, but Smittyj. Memento gets onto the backline, that's Sedrion dead, and Upset will rip through Kasing as well. It's a triple for
The promotion tournament is on the line, and Schalke are 2-1 up.
Upset perhaps looking for it, he gets knocked up onto tower, and then he gets out of tower, and then he goes back into tower, and he's dead.
I don't know. Kaiser! Yeah.
Oh my God!
Nice!
If you can get in.
Oh, the charm! Oh my goodness gracious me! That was absolutely beautiful! The shockwave was great, but that does not even matter! A minuscule amount! RB and Kasing! Who is left alive? Caedrel's not! Moojin jumping around, but Moojin dies as well! And even with a great engage from Team RB, Schalke 04 have taken the fight!
And RB crumble. Schalke, they're advancing to the promotion tournament.
On their second attempt, Schalke 04 have secured their spots in the promotion tournament.